No way. Good morning. Today we are working on our last objective of this unit. It is Friday, so that means Monday we have no school, Tuesday is the review day, Wednesday is the practice test, Thursday is the real test. So make sure that you are understanding all of these objectives. I will be after school Wednesday and Thursday to help with any retakes from previous tests and to help if anybody has questions about this test. So if you want help with this test day after school Wednesday, so we can be ready for that test on Thursday. All right, CO43. I can solve two-step equations. So we're going to take what we learned about adding and subtracting, and we're going to take what we learned about multiplying and dividing, and we're putting it into one equation. So it's not brand new stuff, but it is new how we're going to do it. There is a Khan Academy assignment that is the two-step equations. So some of us, if we were working ahead after that theology quiz, we might have gotten an introduction on how to do this. Some of us looked at it and went, oh, I don't know how to do this. After today's lesson, you should be able to do that Khan Academy exercise. So solving an equation with two steps is merely building up those two objectives and combining the two ideas. It's at this point that we're no longer going to say, yeah, you can do the fact family or you can do the logic question to solve the problem. Now we have to do the opposite operations. And there's a very particular way that we're going to set it up. You might be able to do some mental math to figure out how to solve it, or to do some sloppy math to figure out how to solve it. That is not going to help you in the future. I know what's coming with math. I know what's coming in pre-algebra. I know what's coming in algebra. I know what's coming in calculus. I know what's coming. So I am going to tell us, set it up this way, because I want to help you in the future to have that good habit and to already know how to set it up so it's not challenging in the future. Since there is more than one operation in the equation, and the equations are going to be more complex, using logic alone is too difficult, so we're going to focus on the opposite operations. So we have our equation of 5n plus 7 equals 32. So 5n plus 7 equals 32. So we can see 5n is multiplying. We can see the adding. Okay, so in the equation above, we see there are two operations. 7 is being added to the product of 5 and n. So we really need to think about opposite operations here. What is opposite of addition? Emma. Subtraction. What is the opposite of multiplication? Alyssa's got this other section. What is the opposite of multiplication, Gemma? Division. So we need to know if we see multiplication, we're going to divide to do the opposite. If we see adding, we're going to subtract. And vice versa. If we see subtraction in our equation, we know we have to add. And if we see division, we know we have to multiply. Here is where we need to be careful. With solving for a variable, it's very specific, the order that we have to do. We're going to do the opposite of perm does. We're going to do Sandberg. So we have to work backwards because we're undoing the equation. So instead of perm does, we have Sandberg. So first thing we do is any adding or subtracting. With opposite operation, you do the opposite. So we add or subtract first, then, oops, that should be a D, sorry. Then we divide or multiply, whichever you pick first. Then we do exponents or radicals in the parentheses. So the big thing we need to know about for this is the Adding and subtracting before we multiply or divide. Opposite operations, opposite of PEMDAS, going backwards. When solving for any variable, plug your solution into the original equation and make sure it works. This is a lot more needed now because we're doing more complicated math. So we really need to check our answer to see if it works. Did you have a question? So the exponents and radicals are on the same level, so it doesn't matter which one we hit first. So I just flipped it, so I can call it SADMER. So PEMDAS, opposite of that would be SADMER. Okay, I switched the E and the R because they're on that same level, so it doesn't matter which one came first and which one came second. So we're going to practice that equation up at the top, 5n plus 7 equals 32, is right here. It's going to be the first one that we're going to practice doing the SADMER. So let's see what it looks like and let's see the way we're going to solve it. What do you think is my first step? Knowing what we now know about SADMER and opposite operations, what's the first thing I need to do, James? Am I subtracting 5? I'm not subtracting 5, so I'm not going to add it. So think about what we did when we were just adding or subtracting, or we were just multiplying or dividing. Knowing that we're doing SADMER, so we need to do any adding or subtracting first. Add on. I need to subtract 7 from both sides, not just from the 32 side. I need to take it away from the side that it's on. So I'm subtracting 7. 7 minus 7 is that 0. So that leaves me with just 5n on that side. And then 32 minus 7 is 25. So notice how I'm going directly down. I'm rewriting it as I'm going down, like when we did PEMDAS originally, and we just kept moving stuff down until we get to the answer. Now, our equation looks like something that we've already just done. 5n equals 25, what do I have to do? If it's 5 times n equals 25, what's my opposite operation that we talked about? Adeline? I need to divide that 5 from both sides. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times n is n. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So n equals 5. That's my answer. I need to check my answer to make sure I did my math correct. So I'm going to go back up and I'm going to plug that 5 in for n. So I'm going to say 5 times 5 plus 7 equals 32. Now I'm not doing opposite operations. I'm not moving to the other side. So I'm going to do the regular PEMDAS. So I have to multiply before I add. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 7 equals 32. 25 plus 7 is actually 32. So putting my value into the equation, I can prove that I did it correctly. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to circle it and say there is my answer. So now let's look at 2n plus 17 equals 25. What do you think my first step is going to be? Sophie? Minus, say it louder for me. 2n plus 17 equals 25. Minus the 17. Since I'm adding 17, I want to subtract 17 because with SADMER, I have to do my subtraction or addition first. 17 minus 17 is 0. So that leaves me just with 2n on this side of the equal sign. 25 minus 17 is 8. What's my next step? Emma? I have 2n equals 8. Helen? Yeah. I have 2 times n. 2n is 2 times n. The opposite is divide. So I need to divide both sides by 2. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that leaves me with just n, because we know there's a 1 in front of the n. 1 times n is n. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now I'm going to plug that 4 back into my equation and see if I did my problem, my math correct. So I have 2 times 4 plus 17 equals 25. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 17 equals 25. 8 plus 17 really truly is 25. So I know 25 equals 25. I did my math correct. I'm going to circle it. Let's look at our next one. 12n minus 5 equals 91. What's my first step? Bennett?
Subtract 5 from 91.
Why am I going to subtract 5?
Because that's the first step in
Is it the first step? I have subtract 5. Remember, if we're going SADMER, we have to do opposite operation.
They're doing 12 or 90.
We have minus 5. What's the opposite of minus 5, Bennett? Add 5. So I need to add 5 to this side and then add 5 to this side. Minus 5 plus 5. That's like saying negative 5. Plus 5 gets me to that 0. So that leaves me with 12n on this side. 91 plus 5 is 96. What's my next step? Who's going to be brave and raise their hand? Who thinks they know the next step? What do you think? Lexi?
Division.
Division, because I'm multiplying here. So I need to divide both sides by that 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. What's 96 divided by 12? Hudson? 8. It is 8. Well, let's see if it's got, there we go. So we're going to plug that value of 8 into my problem and see if we did our math right. 12 times 8 is 96, minus 5 equals 91. 96 minus 5 is 91. 91 equals 91. I did my math correct. I'm going to circle it. 10n minus 9 equals 41. What's my first step? Sophie? We have a minus 9 here, so we have to add 9 to both sides. Minus 9 plus 9 zeros out. So we have 10n. 41 plus 9 is 50. So we have 10n equals 50. What do I do next? Liam? Yeah, I'm multiplying by 10 here, so I have to divide each side by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1. That leaves me with my 1n. 50 divided by 10 is 5. Now I have to plug that into my equation. 10 times 5 minus 9 equals 41. 10 times 5 is 50. Minus 9 equals 41. 50 minus 9 is 41. 41 really truly does equal 41. I did it correctly. Let's look at our bottom one down here. n over 4 plus 13 equals 15. What's my first step? Kellen. Yeah, I love how you caught yourself. We had add 13, so we need to subtract 13 from both sides. 13 minus 13 is 0. That leaves me with n over 4. That equals 15 minus 13, which is 2. So now I have n over 4 equals 2. What's my next step? What do you think, James? Because we know n over 4, that division is that fraction bar. So that's n divided by 4. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. So if I multiply by 4 here, I'm going to multiply by 4 here. If I multiply by 4 here, it becomes 4n over 4. I simplify it down, and I'm left with just n. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I'm going to plug in that 8 for the n. So 8 over 4 plus 13 equals 15. 8 over 4 is 8 divided by 4, which is 2, plus 13 equals 15. 2 plus 13 is 15. 15 equals 15, so n is 8. Look at our next one. N divided by 5 minus 20 equals 40. What's my first step? Let me get a new voice in here who hasn't said anything yet. Bennett.
Divide by 20. Multiply by 20.
Careful. N divided by 5 minus 20 equals 40. Bennett, look at our level. Minus is subtracting. What is the opposite of subtracting? Adding. So I truly want us to write Sadmerpo. Make sure you know your levels. I've got subtracting and adding. I've got dividing and multiplying. So I know what the opposite is. So Bennett knew we wanted to get rid of that 20 first. He just forgot what the operation was. That's why we do stuff like write it out on top, so we can always refer back. So minus 20 plus 20 zeros out, so we have n over 5 equals 40 plus 20 is 60. What's my next step? Kylie. We're going to multiply by 5 because we were dividing by 5. We're multiplying by 5. 5n over 5, the 5's cancel out, so we have n. 60 times 5 is 300. So now we're going to say 300 divided by 5 minus 20 equals 40. 300 divided by 5 is 60 minus 20 equals 40. 60 minus 20 is 40. 40 really truly does equal 40. So I know my n is 300. We're catching on to how this works? It's the same style for each one. You just have to pay attention to what the opposite operation is. First you do your adding or subtracting, then you do your multiplying or dividing, opposite of what was in the equation. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Notice how my equal signs line up. I'm being very specific in how I'm writing this. Math will get even more complicated and complex if we are not very specific in how we line it up. It gets messy and sloppy, and we lose track of what we're doing. It will cause problems in the future. And you might be able to say, well, Ms. Gambino, I got the right answer on this objective, so I got it right, so it's not a big deal. So you're right, you're going to pass this objective, but it's not going to help you in the future. I want us to really set it up in this style, right on top of each other, lining up those equal signs, because I know what's coming in the future, and I want us to be successful in the future. So start now lining up your equal signs. So you know that in the future, you'll be able to do the math. So we've got 2 more on this page to do. And then we have the next page. Do we want to do these 2 together to get us a little bit more practice? Let's do them together real quick. N over 6 minus 4 equals 7. What's my first step? Aiden. Plus 4 and plus 4. So it's not 4 plus 4, it's negative 4 plus 4, because that minus sign attaches to that number. So we don't want to think in our head 4 plus 4, because then we're going to put an 8 down there. We want to think negative 4 minus 4 plus 4. So we know it's going to zero out. So if we have a minus 4, it's the same as saying negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0, not 8. I'm glad you said it that way, because every year I have somebody who gets confused by that, and they'll put an 8 on there. Don't put an 8 down there. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So that leaves us with n over 6 equals 7 plus 4 is 11. What's our next step? Natalie?
Multiply by 6.
Multiply by 6. Both sides. 6 divided by 6 turns into the 1. 11 times 6 is 66. We plug 66 into our equation. We have 66 divided by 6 minus 4 equals 7. 66 divided by 6 is 11. Minus 4 equals 7. 11 minus 4 really truly is 7. So 7 does equal 7. So that is our final answer. Last one. N divided by 9 plus 6 equals 9. What's my first step? Aaron?
Add 1.
Add what?
6.
I am adding 6. Remember, opposite operation, Aaron.
Oh, minus.
Minus. Because this is adding, I want to subtract. 6 minus 6 gets me 0. I always want to zero it out. So that's our clue. If we did 6 plus 6, it would be 12. And I can't zero it out. I always have to do the opposite, so I'm zeroing it out. 6 plus 6 is 0, so that leaves me with just 9. N divided by 9 equals 9 minus 6 is 3. What's my next step? Charlie?
Multiply 9 times 3.
Good catch. We are dividing here. So we're going to multiply by that 9. We want to be able to get that down to the 1. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 3 times 9 is 27. Now we put that in our equation. 27 divided by 9 plus 6, does it equal 9? 27 divided by 9 is 3 plus 6. Does 3 plus 6 equal 9? It really truly does, so we know n equals 27. How are we feeling on this? Show me your thumbs. Okay, some of us are like, I think, but I might need to do some. That's why we have a work page, to give us that practice. And we have work time in class, so you can come up and check with me to see if you are doing it correctly. You must show your work. I really, truly want to see you lining up those equal signs. Okay, keep track of what you're doing. You add or subtract first, whatever's the opposite operation. Then you multiply or divide, whatever's the opposite operation. Please note that there will be some negative numbers thrown in there. So you need to remember, if it's a negative 15, we need to divide by negative 15. So negative divided by negative is a positive. We always want to end with that positive. So if you see a negative, you need to divide by the negative number. So keep that negative with it. We want our answer to be a positive n. N equals, we don't want negative n equals. If it's a negative n, that's saying negative 1n, and we need to change that to a positive. So we need to multiply that by another negative, because we want it to be a positive. So we always want it to be a positive n. Your answer might be negative, positive n equals negative something, that's okay. But it has to be a positive n, so if it's negative 15, we have to divide by negative 15. Sophie, you definitely can use a calculator, yes. On the bottom, you have to write a two-step equation with a solution of 36, so that means it needs to equal 36, and a variable value of 5. So I need to think to myself, what can I multiply or divide by 5 plus or minus a number and equal 36? So I know my multiples of 5. I know if I did 6 times 5, that's 30. I could add 6 to that. So I'm doing 2 steps. I'm multiplying and I'm adding. I'm using that 5 in that multiplying or dividing. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put an n in for that 5. And it's going to, the solution, it's going to equal 36. So you write your equation out using multiplying or dividing and adding or subtracting, and you make it equal 36. Make sure you're using that 5 when you multiply or divide, and then you're going to put the n in for it. So here, you're going to do a two-step equation with a solution of negative 8, and you're going to have negative 1 in your multiplying or dividing. And you're going to take it out and put the n in for it. So I helped us with the first one to see how to do it. You need to do this bottom one. Okay? So you're going to work out all the problems on top, doing the SAD/MRF. So you can even write SAD/MRF at the top of your paper, so you remember subtraction and addition go together, multiplying and dividing go together. You do subtraction or addition first, then you multiply or divide. Opposite operations, keeping negative signs with the number. Then down here, I gave us one way to solve it. You need to come here and figure out an equation that will equal negative 8. Any questions on today's assignment? Okay, quietly work. We've got almost 20 minutes of work time. When you finish, if you finish, you're going to do Khan Academy. You're going to do math packet. Math packets are due on Tuesday, so if you turn it in to me right now, I can get it back to you for you to make corrections by Tuesday. But it's due Tuesday, no school Monday. And Khan Academy, that one Khan Academy assignment, you should be able to do now that we learned how to do the lesson. If you are watching at home, I hope you are well. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Kellen, you can go fill up your water.